Hello, ladies. I have to. Hold on, I forgot to turn this on. I have to warn you that this live might have a lot of sneezing from me, and maybe even some nose blowing, because for some reason my hair hated me today. I went outside to take the trash out, and guess what happened? The wind blew, and my hair, my bangs, which I was supposed to trim this morning, my bangs got into my eye, my left eye, and for a couple hours I wasn't even able to see right. But anyway, so I still have a little bit. I don't know if you can see, my left eye is a little irritated, but that's why I look so puffy. So why did I name this harvest moon? Is because in September we have the harvest moon, right? And it's going to be, let's see, it's going to be on September 20th, so right very close to the fall equinox, right? So we had a very, very tumultuous August, and it's a little bit hard to deal with everything that's been going on. It's like we are bombarded with chaotic stuff, and as I said before, the things that the human mind finds hardest to cope with and that will affect us the most are things that we cannot control. And out of all of this, let me see if I can take a little bit brighter light. I think I should be good. Hi, Creepy Kitty. And out of all of these, pretty much everything is stuff we cannot control. Talking about weather, we had here in the US, we had Hurricane Ida that brought a lot of destruction even long after it wasn't a hurricane anymore. And I was absolutely speechless when I saw the destruction it did in the Northeast. And then and again, I'm going to try and not make this in any way political, okay? But the withdrawal from Afghanistan, one thing I can tell you is that I was glued to the monitor for ages. Let me see, because I don't have it on this computer, I only have it on the laptop. There are several websites where you can watch airplanes around the world, right? And I've been watching, let me see, let me actually show you. The website's name is flightradar24.com, and I've been practically glued to it because I was watching the withdrawal from Afghanistan, and you could see the airplanes coming and going and coming and going, and it was quite a thing. And then this whole thing with COVID that's getting bad again. I mean, I can tell you something. I was supposed to have an MRI yesterday, and I actually called to reschedule it for December. I already scheduled my booster for December 1st, so I scheduled my MRI 2 weeks after the booster. Hi, Anna. Just because Oklahoma, unfortunately, is part of those states that are out of, except for one hospital network, out of ICU beds and COVID beds, and for that one hospital network, they are out of COVID beds. So I'm trying not to have anything happen to me, you know. I hope that you enjoyed yesterday's tutorial. I know it took me a while to finish it. It was a little bit more on the masterclass. I'm still working on some things, but unfortunately, I'm still adjusting to the new thyroid dosage, and my energy supplement is not arriving until Tuesday. So I've been checking on the USPS website like forever, and it's not coming until Tuesday. It still shows expected delivery by Tuesday. So even if I am not as with as much of, you know, lacking energy as before, I still do. So I've been trying to you know, to keep up. Yesterday though, I completely took a full day off, and this time I did not allow myself to be bothered by even the thought that I need to do something, because most of the time, even when I'm you know, in one of my almost narcoleptic states, I'm still all the time stressed out by the fact that I need to do this and I need to do that and I need to do the other. So it's like I'm not able to actually completely relax, you know. And I did yesterday. I did exactly that. I spent all day long yesterday doing nothing but binge watch Doctor Who and Torchwood and nap, and that was pretty much it. I didn't even listen to Finnegan when he started crying that he is very bored and nobody pays attention to him, because unfortunately for him, the other two, they're not that young anymore, you know. And he's going to be 2 years old. God, how fast the time goes by. He's going to be 2 years old on October 1st, while the other two are turning 8 years old. I think that Connor already turned 8, and by October 1st, Seamus is turning 8. But that means that they might not be playful when he wants to be playful. They sleep way longer than he does. So then his attention turns to me, because, of course, Mama has to play with me. Mama needs to give me attention. So I did not give him that much attention yesterday. Of course, he did. He did get his brushing. And talking about, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about his breed, because I know a lot of you love him, and the ones of you who did not meet him yet, you can see lately, like in the last year or so, until I got Finnegan, I used to put Connor at the end of my videos, most of them, not all of them, but most of them. And Connor is my other long-haired cat, and he's actually, I thought for a long time that he was mostly Maine Coon, because he's a Maine Coon mix. But when I got his DNA analysis, because, you know, now there's all kinds of online websites who can do that for you, he's actually more Norwegian cat than Maine Coon. So before I used to put Connor at the end of my videos, but lately I've been putting up Finnegan. And if you did not know, remember that my monthly chat doesn't talk only about polymer clay and resin and stuff. We talk about all kinds of things. So I thought it's a good thing to present you a little bit the breed of cat that Finnegan is, because I know a lot of you are alone or lonely, or might want to get a new pet. And even if I am both a dog and a cat person, I love them equally. Unfortunately, my state of health doesn't allow me to get another dog. So after I got Whisper, I decided not to get another pet. But Finnegan was given to me as a present for Christmas of 2019, right before the whole pandemic madness started. And Finnegan is what is called a minuet. And the minuet is a fairly new, I mean, it wasn't recognized by Taika as a breed until 2012. And until 2012, they were called Napoleon cats. In 2012, the name went to be minuet. Now, what are minuets? Minuets are essentially a mix between a munchkin cat, you know, the ones with very, very short legs, and a cat from the Persian family. And that means not just Persian, but also Himalayas and ragdolls and Burmans, I think, and exotic short hairs. Honestly, I do not like the exotic short hairs, but to note here that the Persians used to obtain the minuet breed are not the modern Persians, you know, not the pug-faced ones. They are what is called a doll-face Persian. And the doll-face Persians are, are the Persians that have a more normal cat face. If they sometimes look, let's go through some photos. If they sometimes look like they still have a very short nose, that is just because of the fact that they have a lot of hair, so at one point their nose seems very in. But this is a modern Persian. You can see the nose is very punched in, and this is a doll face. As you can see, the nose is normal. Now, what happens when you have a minuet? The minuets were actually selected. They are on the small side when it comes to size, but they were selected to look like a kitten even when they are adults. So the general word for minuets is that they need to be round. They have huge eyes compared to the noses, as you can see. And you've seen Finnegan. Their eyes are usually in width about at least 1.5 the width of the nose. And they are quite sturdy little fellows. And they can be of two kinds. They are the standards that have short legs, and the non-standards that have long legs. But it is to be noted that even the long-legged ones, still their legs are still a little bit shorter than normal, and they still have the specific Munchkin's thing that the back legs are a little bit taller than the front legs, and because of that, they kind of hop when they run. So they are a whole poem. And when it comes to how they are, okay, because remember, they are short, even when they are the non-standard one. They have very, very sturdy bones. They are a sturdy little cat. But their whole body is round. I don't know how to explain it. They are not fat, but they are kind of rounded all over. And they have a very distinctive coat, even if it's a short coat. They have more fur than other breeds, even than Persians, when it comes to the thickness. So they have a very, very thick undercoat, and because of that, they require a lot of grooming. They can come in any color and in any pattern, but what is the nicest thing is that it's their personality. Okay, they are super social cats, and they love to be around people. And as a general idea, they might, if they are in a house with multiple pets, yes, they will play with the other pets, but their main focus will still be their human. They are very sweet, they are very loving, they get along with pretty much everybody. And they are very, in a way, they are very dog-like. I mean, they come when you call them, because, generally cats, when you call them, they'll be like, okay, let me think if I want to call. No. The minuets will come when you call them. But they are very, very high energy, so they love being able to play, and they can entertain themselves. With Finnegan, there was a problem of him having so many health issues. I mean, not so many. He only had one health issue, and that was not at all a breed specific, because practically the only breed specific health issues that the minuets can have comes from their Persian ancestry, and that is the polycystic kidney syndrome. But pretty much all the catteries out there, and you always, if you want to buy one, you always have to ask for the test, because breeders are not supposed to knowingly sell a cat that might have this issue. But generally speaking, the standards are a bit on the expensive side. I mean, depending on the category and on the pedigree, they can be even like $3,500. So not that cheap. But you can get a non-standard, and those come with an obligation of having it as a pet, not as a breeder. Usually you can find them even starting with 500. Otherwise, they are fairly healthy little guys. And Finnegan's issue was that he was getting urethral obstructions because he reacted pretty bad to high phosphorus in the food, and he kept getting struvite crystals that kept obstructing his little urethra. So the ones of you who are following me at the time know that last year, November and December, he pretty much was in the hospital, in the emergency hospital for a long time. And then he had to have what's called a urethrostomy because he had repeated obstructions. And the third time when it happened, I got him to get the surgery where they practically snip everything out, and he only has a little hole that he pees through. So I used to say that, because now people ask me, what is Finnegan? Is he a boy or a girl? And I have to say he's neither, because he doesn't have anything. So I have a very, very pure white cat. But he still didn't lose anything of his joy of life, only that he's got this thing of please pay attention to me, I presume because he went through so much, so many issues. But I didn't have any more problems with him. Okay, now going to the second part. I know it's been a while since I discussed the trends in the jewelry, because I used to present you trends in the jewelry thing, fashion for spring, for summer, for you name it. And I didn't do that in a while because at the beginning of pandemic I told you that most likely we would have to kind of focus on whatever jewelry can be shown on the face, because most people were working from home and there wasn't gosh, I hope I don't get this on the right eye too, and there wasn't so much showing of bracelets and very little in terms of necklace. But I've been looking since starting like summer of last year, and it's like every website shows you something else. So generally speaking, when you go, at least until the pandemic, what's the jewelry trends for, let's say, spring and summer of this year, and all the websites from the high, Vogue to lower Harper's Bazaar and to even lower, like for everybody, they were all telling you, oh, this year there's gonna be pearls, and this year there's gonna be mismatched earrings, and this year is gonna be this, but they were all in the same trend. Well, starting the fall of last year, everybody says something else. So to be very, very honest, because I still get a lot of messages and emails from artists and crafters about, what do you think, I'm supposed to go to this venue, or I'm supposed to open a new website, what do you think I should make, what would sell the best? Well, one thing that I can tell you that I've noticed, and but you'll have to spend a little bit of time and do your own research. Number one, look at what newscasters are wearing. That's one thing. Number two, they would have still on the news and stuff, they would have still when they go and interview people on the street, look at what your specific segment would be wearing. Because remember what I told you a while ago, that when you start making jewelry, and there is actually, let me get to it. I did actually write an article on my blog. Give me a second. Let me search. I think it was in 2019. Let me see. I think it was 2019. Might have been 2018. Yeah, I think it was 2018. There's an article where I explain how to do when you decide to make jewelry or other stuff for sale. Okay, and I was talking to you about how to decide what would be your market, because if you try to please everybody, you are not going to be able to, because youngsters wear different things than people in their 40 or people in their 60, so there's always going to be a little bit of a difference. Where the heck are you? I know I wrote you. Where are you? Goodness gracious. So if you want to sell for the younger people, then you have to think that most of the young people do not have a lot of money. So what you need to do is to make a lot of stuff that won't take you a lot of time, and that you can sell cheap. So you'll go for a more lots of pennies, not so much big prices. But if you want to go, your best bet will be kind of like 35 to 50, because those are the ladies that do like to look nice, and also have more power, more buying power than the younger people. Generally speaking, don't try to go for people with a lot of money, because people with a lot of money are not going to buy polymer clay. They are going to buy gold and diamonds and stuff like that. They are not going to go for not even a John Deere, right? They are going to go for something that has some brand on it. So kind of look for that, and try to find what would be your, let me try and get, there we go, how to design your jewelry. It was in 2018. So let me share it with you if you didn't read that article. There we go, and I explain it great. I mean, I hope good enough. How to establish your demographics by buying capability. And another thing that you can go for, because even if the jewelry trends were all over the place, nevertheless the color trends for the year are still there. Another thing to keep in mind is don't allow yourself to be boxed into, oh my god, jewelry only, because you may be losing on a lot of the market if you do that. Because fortunately for us, polymer clay and resin are very versatile and can be used for a lot of things. one of the things that I always talk about is home decorations, and one of them would be like drawer knobs and cabinet knobs and stuff like that, because no matter what you do, the better looking ones, they always are very expensive. No matter if you look at Lowe's or Home Depot, or if you look, on some kind of Piers One like website. And I know I did one tutorial with how to do some knobs, but I do have what it needs. I just didn't get around to it yet, on how to do other ones, because no matter how it doesn't no matter how, but you can charge people and a decent price that everybody would be happy about, and still cut under the prices that are in the stores on the market. And not only that, but the other good thing is that you can actually do custom work. That means that you can do, let me actually, I did a bad thing, hold on. Let me show you in my Amazon store. In my Amazon store, it's an influencer store, remember, and it doesn't mean that I am selling them. It means that I am recommending them, and I will get a few cents for each purchase that you make without changing your price. So if you go in my influencer store on Amazon and you look for coverables, but see, this way you'll be able to even do commissions, because you can get for somebody, and people would go for that. Trust me, people would go for that. You can get, for example, for somebody, completely customized cabinet pulls and drawer knobs and light switch plates and curtain rod ends, and I have put here some stuff that can be, let me see, this one is not, I might have to look for a new one. Yeah, it's unavailable. I need to look for a new one. But I have put here some blanks that can be used to do customized work on this. So you can go ahead and use these. Of course, you can find them cheaper in certain local home improvement stores. But again, as I said, don't get boxed into just the jewelry thing. The other thing, of course, you can make all kinds of boxes, and you know that I did put up, my last tutorial was on a jewelry box, and I have made a tutorial on how to do regular detachable lid box without needing a blank underneath. I mean, you can do it just out of polymer clay, and I am preparing to do some tutorials on how to do a box with hinges and with a lock. And by the way, in order to show you, I do recommend, and I might have to change these again because they are all these. Yes, these are unavailable. Let's see. You'll find these in baking blanks, because these are blanks that you can use for making other stuff. Okay, so baking blanks. But I recommend that you get stuff that's used for mousse, like mousse rings, and there they are here. So the one that I used is this $10 one, but you can find different other sizes, and also these round mousse rings can be easily used for bangles. And as you can see, there are all kinds of shapes and sizes. I do have a heart one planned as well, and these are really cool for just rectangular ones, but you can use these for all kinds of things. And another thing that you can make are, for example, cell phone holders to just put your cell phone down when you want to watch something. And there's vases, there are trinket boxes, bowls, all kinds of decorations, and you can make really, really beautiful things. And if you don't know, in some of my older tutorials, I showed how to do a faux burl wood jewelry box, and the tutorial is out. I also have a couple paid tutorials on how to make faux raku. Actually, give me just a second. Because making things out of polymer clay, they don't have to look plasticky. And that's the thing that I always said, be very careful when you work with polymer clay, because that's the big risk, that what you make might look too much like plastic. Okay, so just to give you an example, this is the jewelry box that I made that looks like burl wood, and the tutorial is on YouTube, right? And it's also a detachable lid box, and for this one you only need a round thing and a spherical bowl to make this kind of stuff. And there is a tutorial on how to make this exact shape. This is one of my faux raku. Don't know if you can see all the color changes on it. This is one of my faux raku tutorials, and this is the second faux raku tutorial. So you can make all kinds of things. Don't allow yourself to be boxed into just making jewelry, because I know things are hard for all of us, but believe me, there are a lot of people who'd rather spend money to beautify their environment than spend money on jewelry they know they will never wear. And again, when you design your kind of jewelry, the other thing that you want to be careful about is, let me put it this way, throughout the polymer clay world, there are waves, there are fads. Okay, so you'll find that, let me give you an example. So the first time the color shift acrylic paint came out, everybody was crazy about it, and you'd get all more or less known artists with a YouTube channel posting all kinds of tutorials on how to use the color shift, how to make silk screens with color shift, and everybody was head over heels. Obviously it was a new thing. Everybody liked it. Everybody wanted to learn how to work with it. Everybody wanted to see and learn new ideas about how to work with it. The thing is, and I'm talking about the ones of you who want to make jewelry for sale, the world out there is completely unaware of what we like and don't like, us as artists and crafters. Okay, so there are not many other artists and crafters that are going to buy what you make, unless you are one of the more known artists and you already have a fan base who buys your stuff. You are not going to sell much to the other artists and crafters. So instead of focusing on, oh, everybody's making stuff with color shift, focus on what are people, the rest of the world, looking for. What do they like to wear? That would be one thing. The other thing is, you're not going to sell well what you like. You're going to sell well what people like. So keep that in mind. The other thing is, when you establish your price, you need to do a little bit of research on that and be very, very honest with yourself, because you cannot say, oh, I spent 10 hours to make these earrings, so I'm going to think about at least minimum wage an hour, and I'm going to want to sell them for $70. Because you're never going to sell them for $70. And the fact that it took you 10 hours to make those earrings, and look what other artists sell in the same, and you might realize that your work is not as good as others. You might have to sell those earrings for $20 and be thankful that you sold them, because it doesn't really matter how long it took you. It matters on what's the value to others. And you might want to go more towards something that doesn't take you that long. So you might want to go towards creations that are more in line to what people like, but do not require you as much time as other things would require you. The other thing is also, because we go through all these waves and, oh my god, such and such company came up with new cutters, and all of a sudden everybody is making, like, you know, the, sorry, me personally, I don't like them, the ones that look like how you call them, for some reason I cannot remember the English. Give me just a minute. Horseshoe. Those horseshoe things. Just because everybody was making those horseshoe shaped earrings doesn't mean that everybody is going to want to buy those horseshoe earrings. I said I personally don't like them, but some other people might like them. And again, look for what other people like. Don't look for what you like, and you have to price accordingly. Yeah, that's see, that the thing is that you first must establish yourself before you can charge higher. That's the deal. The other deal is that if you're going to again box yourself into everybody's using pretty much this or this or this cutter for earrings, so I'm gonna use that because everybody likes it, and everybody's working mostly on silk screen, then everybody's going to be using this and this and this silk screens that you can buy on this from this artist or from this store. You won't be able to charge a lot. You're going to have to charge about what everybody else charges. So instead of looking for something original that you might be able to charge more, you're going to be restricted to what everybody else charges, because nobody's going to pay double price to buy it from you if they can find pretty much the same thing from somebody else for half the price. Do we go on spending a lot of time on making things? Yes, we can, but not when you want to make, you're not exactly a very known artist and you don't want to make a living out of selling polymer clay, whatever you make. Unfortunately, because I'm going to tell you something, I had a lot of moments that I felt like I had a very sad heart, because I told you before, I like to go. Of course, I didn't go at all during the pandemic, but I liked to go to secondhand stores because I would find a whole bunch of things that I could use. And a lot of times I would find, on the shelves a lot of crafts that honestly you could see why they ended up there. So I'm going to be very, very blunt with you. And I talked about this before, I think in one of the lives I had before. I talked about how political correctness hinders us as artists, because there's that thing with, if you cannot say something nice, don't say anything. Because you'd have somebody who started doing art or crafting or whatever, and then they would post their first tries and everything, and everybody, all their friends would be like, oh, that is so nice, you are so talented, you are so, when in fact it's just a beginner's work, and they will have a lot of improvement to do before they can actually make a living. But because of the PC, they start thinking that they are really worth something, and they continue working, and they don't have a success, any kind of success. So they get very, people don't buy my stuff, and people don't, but they never think that in fact their stuff doesn't get sold because they definitely have a lot to improve. So when you do stuff for sale, you have to be very, very objective with yourself. Look at other things, and I myself made so many mistakes, and I did not put them out for sale just because I realized that was not a good thing to put out. And I would always, try to get myself better. I would compare my whatever I did with stuff other artists did, and it's always, a lot of it is always in the finishing. And I can tell you something, because I always say that the danger when making polymer clay stuff is that it's going to look like very cheap plastic. And even if we have now, that we did not have before, now we have a lot of beautiful varnishes and resins, and I can tell you something. If you need something to be shiny and you can sand and buff it, always go for sanding and buffing, not for varnishing, unless you want to make a specific effect, like generally speaking, when you have all kinds of mica and glittery and stuff and you put resin on it, it brings up, pops out and all that you cannot do with sanding, and because obviously that's surface treatment. And the other thing is, if you use varnish, be very, very careful how you use it, because I've seen so many things that were beautifully done, but then whoever made them plopped varnish on top of them with absolutely no care in the varnish not to pool in the smallest crevices and little holes and whatever, and as a result, whatever they made looked like cheap Chinesery, or like something a fourth grader would do. So very, very careful when you use your finishing is very, very, very important. If you are like me and you have issues with your hands, because remember, there's a reason why I don't show a lot of how to put necklaces together, and I don't do a lot of more complicated bales and things, because my hands do not allow me to do so. I have problems pinching, I have problems with moving my hands because I have cervical spine damage. But if that's the case with you, use simpler things. You've noticed that most of my earrings and my pendants, I use pinch bales. Why? Because they are much easier to use and they look professional and they look pretty, and it's a matter of the finish. They are going to always look nice and classy, the pinch bale. Much better than if I would try to do all those kind of loops and wires. There's a reason why I stopped sculpting polymer clay. There's a reason why I stopped wire wrapping, because I cannot do it. And if I try to do wire wrapping right now, it looks like crap, because I cannot pull properly. I cannot, so be careful how your finished result looks like. And if you cannot do, hi J9, if you cannot do a specific type of finish of finding jewelry, finding attaching or whatever, then look for another solution that's much easier for you to make and that would still make your creation look classy. Okay. When it comes to the varnish, and I think I have a couple tutorials where I showed that, when it comes to applying varnish, avoid flat paintbrushes, because with flat paintbrushes, what happens, hi Sarah, with flat paintbrushes, what happens, flat paintbrushes are not made to hold a lot of liquid, okay? So you'll have to lift the brush to dip it and then to put it again, and then you have flat paintbrushes are not very soft because they are made generally for a little bit more viscous stuff. Hi Pita. So you will get a lot of streaking. What you want when using varnish, you want something that's called a mop brush, and they look like this. That mostly they are used in watercolor painting, and you can find, I do have some on the tools. These ones, I have several sizes of them. But why they are called, it's not just the shape. They are called mop brushes because they can hold a lot of liquid, and you don't have to lift the paintbrush to dip it, because they will hold a lot of liquid until you can practically cover your whole thing. The other thing, the paintbrush for applying varnish is one of the things you cannot make economies on if you want your products, your projects to look good. Always get squirrel hair. Don't go for fake squirrel hair, don't go for badger, don't go for, no, you need squirrel hair. There's a reason why, because that squirrel hair is very, very soft, it's very thin, very soft, and very flexible, so that whenever you use the mop brush to do this, it will not leave any kind of streak. The other thing is that with a mop brush, that's why it's called a mop brush. If you drop too much, then you can go ahead, and gently go to your thing and where you have the varnish and gently kind of clean it a little bit, and then you can come on top and mop the excess without leaving streaks. So again, when applying your varnish, it's very, very important what kind of paintbrush you are using. And again, the paintbrush for varnish is the one thing you cannot make economies on. But the good thing is that a good paintbrush, yeah, and I'm not talking, you don't have to go crazy and get one of the over $100 ones, but you can find decent paintbrushes for like $30. But if they are good quality, and they are good quality mop paintbrushes, they are going to last you a long time. Only that you have to be careful, because remember, we can only use water-based varnishes on polymer clay. And not only that, but if you do not clean your paintbrush, it's going to look very, very bad. It's going to get destroyed. So always after you finish, let me actually try and find the paintbrush in my store, because I do have several that I put up there, and I did buy a few of them, and from my painting days, I kind of know what paintbrushes are good. Where are you? Not jewelry. There we go. So let's get back to... So this one is $17. It's a set. I did buy this set. It's absolutely fabulous. Then you can find these. The Paul Rubens is a pretty good professional paintbrush. It's for more like for an economy budget. But be very careful with the size. That's why I put two sizes here. It's kind of like backwards from wires. I mean, the smaller the number, the bigger the paintbrush. To give you an example, no, sorry, it's kind of, it's like with the like with the jewelry wire. I mean, jewelry wire goes from thick is smaller, large, higher number is thinner, so it's backwards with the brushes. So the higher the number, because let's see, like this one, see, it says it's a 4, number 4, and I'm going to show you in the set. Okay, the smaller one in the set is the number 2. Where are you? It's the number 2, and the larger one in the set is the number 12. So that's why you have to keep in mind when you buy these mop brushes, as a general idea, your best bet, depending on if you do more cabochons and stuff, your best bet would be like an 8. For smaller things, if you have small sculptures and stuff, you can get a 2 or a 4, but this would be an 8 and this would be a 10, and they are fairly thick, but they are good for cabochons. So if you do a lot of cabochons and necklaces that need varnishing and stuff, you want to get an 8 or a 10. And if you're doing a lot of boxes and things, then you want to do even a 12. Hi James, how you doing today? So again, it's very important how you finish your pieces if you want to have any kind of success when buying. And when I was talking about the fact that you shouldn't allow yourself to be boxed in by making jewelry, you have to think about this, the state of the economy we are in, and who has more money to spend for this. There are more people who would spend money to have nice surroundings than people who would buy jewelry, you know, because again, we are facing a Chinesery society where you have all these, even the gas stations and jewelry that are a few bucks, right? So you kind of have to stand out when it comes to jewelry. When it comes to decorations, it's a little bit easier if you can find your little niche. Yeah, so James, I can't wait. We are supposed to have some rain starting tonight. I cannot wait for that rain. It's been very, very hot. I mean, there are all kinds of things. There was a time when and I cannot do that anymore because I cannot remember I told you I cannot take commissions because I cannot commit to a specific time frame. But when I was still sculpting and things, I was making pretty nice money. I had wasn't a contract or anything, you know, I just had an understanding with the local pet cemetery. And when people had to have their pets put down or their pets died, you know, and they wanted to either cremate them or even, you know, even if they were buried, because there actually was and is a cemetery, they still wanted to have something to remember them by. And they would give me photos of their pet, and I would make small sculptures on top of a box with the ashes or stuff like that. So that was one thing. And another thing is wedding cake toppers. And if you are a decent sculptor, you can make, I mean, those you can charge if you're a as again a decent sculptor, you can charge well over $1,000 for the toppers if you're able to make, you know, kind of like the resemblance with the bride and groom. But even if you don't do much sculpting, there's all kinds of other stuff, you know, like a lot of people would go, especially the youngsters, with little Lego bride and groom or things like that. So there's all kinds of things that you can make out of polymer clay and still be able to make some money. For example, you don't realize, but there is, for example, there's a reason why on my in my influencer store there is this section, musical boxes, because you can make little jewelry boxes or little whatchamacallit, sculptures and stuff with a little musical box in them. Or there is, you can make fridge magnets, but also, hold on, let me find it. Another thing that you can make and you can customize and you can make them really pretty. Where the heck are they? I have so many sections here, it's not even funny. You can make clocks. That's why I have here clock mechanisms. I didn't do a lot of clocks with polymer clay. I did a few with resin, and I used to do quite a bit with wood. You know, wood burned wood. But you can make clocks with polymer clay or resin that look awesome. So there's a lot of things. Remember, there's a lot of things that you can make with polymer clay if you need to make that little extra income. And if you want to be more successful, don't allow yourself to be boxed in a specific thing, unless you make yourself a name for that specific thing, right? If that makes any sense. Okay, so I guess I'm going to stop it here, and tomorrow, remember, we are going to do some jewelry with the cane that we did in the last two Sundays. And I recommended some bangle tutorials I had put on YouTube on how to make a bangle blank, to actually use canes to make the bangle. And we're gonna do some stuff tomorrow with the cane that we did the last two Sundays. Now I'm going to have to go lay down and put some more eye drops in my eye and trim my bangs, because that's what happened. I was supposed to trim my bangs, but that wind just got the hair directly in my eye, and I guess it irritated the crap out of it. That's why I've been having issues. So I will see you all tomorrow. I hope that you'll be in good health and good mood. And remember to think about James and light a candle for him, because he's got big health issues. And for everybody else. And let's hope we'll be around for a long time to talk about stuff. Okay? Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I love you all, and see you tomorrow.